There's a moment when quitting makes perfect sense. It usually happens early in the morning. The city is still half asleep. A streetlight flickers, and you're standing there tired, asking yourself why you keep trying. Not because you failed, but because you hoped. And nothing seems to be changing. That's the hardest part. When effort turns quiet, when progress hides, when discipline feels invisible, and in that moment, a voice shows up. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It sounds like your own voice. It even says your name. Maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you waited long enough. Most people listen to that voice. They quit right there, right before things start working. This is not a story about fighting. It's a story about what happens before strength shows up, about how discipline reshapes your mind long before it changes your life. And it begins with a boy who thought power meant winning against others, until he learned where real control actually comes from. Evan walked into the dojo expecting to be noticed. He wasn't. Coach Malik didn't look up, didn't ask his name, didn't welcome him in. Evan stood there for a second too long, jaw tight, hands clenched, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. The place felt smaller than he imagined. Concrete floors, old mats, no mirrors, no music, just people moving, slow, focused, calm. Evan joined in anyway, too fast, too hard. His strike snapped through the air loud and sharp, like he was trying to prove something to the room. Coach Malik stopped him with 2 fingers. "Again," he said, slower this time. Evan's shoulders burned. His balance slipped. A smaller guy beside him moved with ease, breathing steady, while Evan fought his own body. That annoyed him more than anything. This wasn't what he signed up for. He came here to feel powerful, to feel respected. Instead, he felt exposed. Coach Malik watched quietly, then turned away. No praise, no correction, just silence. As Evan wiped sweat from his face, a thought crept in, sharp and uncomfortable. What if strength isn't what I think it is? And what if this place won't give me what I came for? Training didn't slowly become strange. It was strange from the first day. Coach Malik handed Evan a broom and said nothing. Evan cleaned while others trained, not beginners, people who arrived after him. He noticed it the 3rd morning. A new guy stepped onto the mat. By the end of the session, that guy was practicing combinations. Evan was still sweeping. When he was finally allowed to move, it wasn't relief. It was worse. Coach Malik stopped him mid-step, not for a big mistake, for his heel lifting a few centimeters too early. "Start over." Again. Evan's legs burned. His shirt clung to his back. The room stayed quiet except for his breathing. Too loud, too fast. Coach Malik watched, then looked away. No explanation, no encouragement. One afternoon, Evan lost balance, not fell, just wobbled. Coach Malik tapped the mat. From the beginning, people noticed, not in a cruel way, in that silent, uncomfortable way that makes you feel small. By the end of training, Evan stood alone, repeating the same slow movement while the others packed up and left. No sense of progress, no visible reward, just repetition, correction, silence. And the worst part wasn't the work. It was the thought that followed him home. What if this isn't training at all? What if I'm just being ignored? Evan didn't plan on missing a day. It just happened. His alarm went off. He stared at the ceiling, and for the first time in months, he didn't get up. The next morning, he showed up late. The dojo was already alive. Someone else was standing where Evan usually stood. Same height, same age, new face. Coach Malik didn't acknowledge Evan's arrival, didn't move the line, didn't make space. Evan waited Finally, Coach Malik walked past him and said, "You don't have to stay." Not harsh, not kind, just factual. The words landed heavier than any insult. Training began without him. No broom handed over, no instruction. Evan stood near the wall, unsure if he was still part of this at all. When he finally stepped forward, Coach Malik stopped him with a raised hand. Not today. That was it. No explanation, no second chance. Evan picked up his bag. His hands felt numb. He walked toward the door, every step louder than the last. This wasn't frustration anymore. This was erasure. As his fingers touched the handle, a thought cut through him. Sharp and terrifying. If I leave now, no one will stop me. And worse, no one will notice. The moment came when Evan wasn't ready for it. It was late. The street was narrow. No one around to impress. No rules. Just a voice behind him. Too close. Too aggressive. At first, Evan ignored it, kept walking. Then the shove came. Hard enough to jolt his shoulder forward. "Hey," the guy said. Closer now. "You think you're better than me?" Evan turned, and just like that, the old heat rushed back. His jaw tightened. His fists closed before he noticed them closing. His body leaned forward on instinct. This was the moment he trained for. This was the moment he wanted. The guy stepped closer, said something personal, something unnecessary. Evan's pulse slammed in his ears. His breathing broke rhythm. For half a second, he was gone. Not calm, not disciplined, just angry. His weight shifted, heel planted, hips turned, everything lined up. And then something stopped him. Not a thought, not a lesson, a pause. A strange awareness of his own body, how tight his shoulders were, how shallow his breath had become. He inhaled, sharp and fast. Then again, slower. The world didn't calm down. He did. The guy was still there, still loud, still dangerous. Evan lowered his hands slightly, not in surrender, in control. The tension stretched. One wrong move could still end badly. Then Evan took a step back, not out of fear, out of clarity. The guy hesitated, confused, thrown off. Evan didn't wait for permission. He turned, walked away. His heart didn't slow until he reached the corner. His hands were still shaking. Not because he was weak, but because he knew how close he came to becoming someone he didn't want to be anymore. Evan didn't feel proud as he walked away. He felt shaken. His hands trembled long after the street emptied. Not from fear, from how close he came. That night, sleep didn't come easily. Every time he closed his eyes, he replayed the moment his body almost moved on its own. The anger was still there, quieter now, but not gone. The next morning, Evan showed up at the dojo before sunrise. The city was silent. The lights were still off. He unlocked the door and stood there for a moment, listening to his own breathing. The broom was exactly where he left it. As he swept, his shoulders ached, not just from effort, from restraint. Coach Malik arrived later and said nothing, no nod, no approval. Training went on as usual, slow, precise, unforgiving. And that's when Evan understood something uncomfortable. What happened last night wasn't an ending. It was proof that the work actually mattered. Discipline didn't erase his anger. It gave him a way to live with it. And in the quiet of that empty room, with no one watching, Evan kept moving. Not because he felt strong, but because he knew how easily strength could slip away. The dojo was quiet again. End of day, no audience. Evan finished cleaning and stood by the door, unsure why he hadn't left yet. Coach Malik spoke without turning around. "You didn't learn how to stay calm," he said. "You learned how to stay." That was all. Evan walked home through the same streets as before. Same noise, same pressure. Nothing outside him had changed. But when the old tension surfaced, the tightening chest, the restless thoughts, he didn't rush them away. He stood there, breathing, balanced, not because life was suddenly easy, but because he was no longer running from himself. And somewhere between silence and effort, between restraint and choice, Evan realized this wasn't about discipline anymore. It was about who he was becoming when no one was watching.